Welcome to let's do it this way so the AI edits this correctly. Hey everyone, welcome to the Dean Obeidallah Show, the Dean's Report Live, and the reoccurring segment, You Are My Guest, where you are literally the only guest. There's no one else here. It's you and me. Why? Because I want to go through one topic and read your comments, and I really wish you could actually talk to me, but instead I will read the comments of people, and you could read them in real time. I'll go back. And today's topic is looking at the Democrats' response to the murder of Renee Good. And often all of us criticize Democrats, but in this case, we had some Democrats do an amazing thing in that their response immediately to the murder was such that it increased the chances of justice for Renee Good's family. And two, it's a template for going forward between now and November and beyond that, but especially between now and the midterm election. What I'm getting at is whenever there's a big incident involving the law, the cops are involved or anything with legal issues, what are Democrats' usual response? They go, we have to let the process play out. We can't jump to conclusions. We're going to have to wait and see, which is responsible. But what happens is when it's an issue that intersects politics, then Trump and MAGA fill that void. They control the narrative completely. And what happens by the time Democrats start countering it, it's too late because they wait too long. And one of the big examples was after the January 6th terrorist attack. I can't tell you how many members of Congress were on my show, Democrats. And I would say to them, sometimes off air, sometimes on air, why are you not calling for Donald Trump to be prosecuted for inciting a terrorist attack on our Capitol? I mean, I'm talking about the days after January 6th and the months after. I'm like, why are you not demanding it? And they go, well, we don't want to politicize it. We don't want to seem like we're pushing for any kind of investigation. Let it play out. That kind of thing. Again, all responsible. What happened? Donald Trump over the next year got to rewrite January 6th. We lived through it. We yelled at our TV through it. We screamed at Democrats via Twitter over it, right? This was different. And I think that for some reason, in this case, we saw Democrats, not all of them, but many, viscerally channeling what we were saying, what you and I were feeling, what I was seeing on social media, what I was hearing from people who call my show. And what kicked it off, and I really think the chain of events led to that, and that was Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, who within hours of the shooting had a press conference. And he said, I've got a message for ICE. And that message is get the F out of the city. Get the F out of the city. And then beyond that, in real time, he countered the lies of the Trump administration. You remember Tricia McLaughlin, one of the head liars, DHS spokesperson, saying that Renee Good rammed her with the vehicle, used it as a weapon. And Chrissy Noem saying that she was a terrorist. We all remember that. In real time at that press conference, and I went back and looked at it, when Jacob Fry was asked about the idea of it being a weapon, he said point blank, DHS is trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. He said, having seen the video, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. That was important. He called it bullshit. He said, look at the video. Then within hours of that, AOC was on the steps of the Capitol, where she said point blank, she called it, and this got some press, but this was important. She said ICE assassinated Renee Good. Assassinated, that was the word. All of a sudden, what's happening is you have her talking about the murder of Renee Good. Ro Khanna, another Democrat, goes on the floor of the House and says that what we saw today is murder and demanded an investigation. He said, I saw the video. I was disgusted. The ICE agent needs to be arrested and he needs to be prosecuted. Representative Ilhan Omar represents Minneapolis, similar language. Representative Delia Ramirez saying the same thing. So what was happening is instead of having just the Trump narrative, which they do alone, you had a Democratic narrative. It became a counter narrative. And the way it works in the media, because arguably I'm in the media, is if you only have one side saying something, all the media has to do is cover that one side. There's no obligation for the media. We think the media should, why aren't you looking at the other side? Why aren't you investigating this? Well, even a political issue, if Republicans say this and Democrats say nothing, then they just cover the Republican side. If Democrats say what the Republicans saying is a lie, then every time the responsible media says Republicans say this, and then they go, but Democrats say that. And you have counter narratives in real time. in real time counter narratives here. This was so important. Even at Hakeem Jeffries is usually very like, you know, being as nice as possible, but kind of focus grouped. Thursday, saying it's horrific, it's an abomination. I think Mayor Fry, AOC, Ro Khanna, Omar, and the others started to inspire other Democrats. And I know they inspired me to go look at first I didn't see the footage. I didn't know what happened. I'm like, let me go see this footage. What's going on? And I go online and I watch it. And it's not just one side in my brain as a human being. There's already a second side. I'm like, is this what Trump is saying? And of course, believe nothing from them. Instinctively, liars, right? But I'm like, what are Democrats saying? And when I saw what the Democrats were saying, it made me want to fight more. It inspired me to go on my show and say, this is murder, because Democrats use the word murder. I can tell you before this, they would not have done this. Some of them are adjusting to the new world that we're in. Some Democrats are amazing fighters. And I like to amplify them more than criticize the ones that are not doing a good job. So, and I'm especially between now and November. So you had all these Democrats to the point where, and you want to know how upsetting it was to the right and to MAGA? When's the last time you saw J.D. Vance do a press event in the White House press briefing room? I don't think any time this whole year. But he went down to that press briefing room to try to save the MAGA narrative that Renee Good was a terrorist. He actually said she was waging attack on America. That's what J.D. Vance said on Thursday. She waged, quote, an attack on America. He slammed the media. How dare you report this other side, the Democrats, you're so irresponsible. And if you listen to him, if you watch it again, the clips online, if you're bored, there is a desperation in his tone. There is almost an anger. They're not used to this. They're not used to Democrats fighting back like that in real time, especially when it's a legal issue. And don't get me wrong, certain Democrats who are involved in law enforcement, like I spoke to Attorney General from Minnesota, Keith Ellison, on Thursday, he cannot, nor should he say, this guy should go to jail today, because he is co-in charge of the investigation. When I talked to AG Ellison, he said point blank, though, we have a tyrannical government. He called it Gestapo-like tactics. But he said, I cannot say if there are charges or not merited until our investigation's over. For a guy in charge of investigation, yes. But even he was not being timid, and he never is. Even he was being like pounding. That's a lesson for Democrats going forward, even for us on the base. And I think, honestly, in the base, we're not focus group, right? We just say things the way they are, and we want Democrats to channel us. Well, in this case, they channeled us. In this case, they fought with the passion and the power that we demand, that the circumstance demand. And to make a big point, this is not just about politics. By doing so, by having these Democrats come out and say it, by headlines talking about the murder of Renee Good, it made people in law enforcement, including Keith Ellison and the Hennepin County DA, I think it puts some more pressure on them. We have to do investigation. This was murder. If Democrats, think about, what if Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, went up there that first day and didn't say to ICE, get the F out, and that what they're saying is bullshit? And what if instead he said, it's heartbreaking, it's a loss of life, we're going to have to wait and see. We're going to let the process play out. What if AOC went on the Capitol steps and said, just everyone calm down, let the process play out? What the reaction would have been? It would have been the entire MAGA narrative defining the entire incident. It would have been Trump lying, JD, Kristi Noem, and by the time we got around to counter it, it's too late. It has taken hold. The roots have been planted, and there's no one who is not on our side already that we're going to convince otherwise. That's why. So it's important. But I think, again, getting back to the real point, it makes it more likely there's justice for Renee Good's family. Because we're in this political world, but we all know, we can't forget, Renee Good was a mother of three. Her wife watched her get executed by an ICE agent. She has to live with that. The three children have to live without a mother. And at the least she deserves is justice. That Jonathan Ross and any other ICE agent that involved in the conspiracy that helped this crime of murder is charged. Now, it could be charged with murder and manslaughter, but for those two. And, I had Frank Figluzzi on, my buddy, former FBI agent, on Friday on my radio show, and I uploaded the video on YouTube for my channel. And he said point blank, looking through where the three shots were fired, in all three, the ICE agents' two legs were on the side of the driver. They were not in front. Look, I'm a lawyer. If the case was the ICE agent was standing straight in the head and someone were to drive into that person and the shots are fired head on there, you could say that is a defensible case. That would be defensible. That's not what this was. Completely different. So again, and I, who have been very critical of our Democratic messaging, we're not the best. Here, they did a good job. And I think we learned from it. It brings us closer to justice for Renee Good's family, which is such a priority, and is a template for going forward. The Democrats must come out hard, come out fast. And if you make little mistakes around the edges, we can deal with it because Trump is just lying. So as long as you're doing it in good faith, you're not bad faith lying. You're in good faith. You're creating a counter narrative. Do that over and over and over. And it's going to piss off the right because that's what they're, by the way, it is not ended. Just today, Tricia McLaughlin, the DHS head liar, was on TV and her tone is slightly different on Fox News. It's not saying terrorist. It's saying she didn't comply because they got beaten up so bad by Democratic messaging and the video. The video, without a video, think about it. Without a video, it's just a fight of words. I think they got beat up, but they are still out there. The head of ICE was saying, Greg Bavino was saying, well, how come they care about her? What about the people killed by undocumented aliens? What does that have to do with anything? So, all right. So that was my little rant. I keep it short. And I want to, you are my guest. That's the whole premise of this. It's not me just talking to you. It's me starting the conversation. And for the next 10 minutes or so, I want to read what people are saying. I want to see what the comments are and share them because, as I always say, sincerely, I learn from you. I hope you learn from me. We all learn from each other. I am the walrus. You are the Eggman. Google it you. Exactly. That is the Beatles. Everyone, I think, here is old enough to know that song. All right. So let me look at some of the lines here. The Ruth says, I read an article about former law enforcement. The shooting was not warranted. Yes, Ruth. And Frank Figluzzi, who I wrote an article about for Substack. It's still on the homepage for my Substack. I quote him extensively. I defer to him. I was an attorney. I did municipal prosecution in my work as a lawyer, nothing in felonies, nothing with murders, nothing dealing with cops doing lethal force. But Frank, for 2 years, was in charge of the FBI of reviewing cases when there was lethal force. So his stuff is really good. Let's see, Dawn says, absolutely disgusting how they disparage Renee Good from the cop, the killer calling her an effing bitch, and to the regime calling her a domestic terrorist. And Dawn, that's a great point. And it's something else I'm working on for an article. And maybe tomorrow I'll talk about it here, is that what we're seeing, if you wondered how, let me put it this bluntly. This is going to sound blunt and maybe even harsh. If you wonder how Germans became Nazis, you're seeing it play out in real time right in front of us. And I'll go through it more in detail in an article tomorrow and maybe at the 4:00 chat we'll do here about what that is. But the dehumanization of Renee Good is part and parcel of the idea of laying the groundwork for really frightening things that could happen in the future. And it's not, this is just building. This has been built. We're not going to get that now. All right. Let's see, Change Champion, it says, why is Waltz not sending the National Guard in? Look, from my understanding is they're on alert. If he'll only call the National Guard if the local law enforcement can't control the situation. Now, Change, I don't know if you mean to go after ICE, and that's a different story. Just so it's very clear, from a legal point of view, ICE does not, NOT, underline, does not have absolute immunity. Nobody has absolute immunity except for Donald Trump, thanks to the Supreme Court, if he does things within his powers enumerated in the Constitution. There's no police officer has absolute immunity. No federal agent has absolute immunity. And they lie. You had Todd Blanche, second in control at the DOJ, saying a few months ago, absolute immunity. That's a lie. They know it's a lie. We all know that police officers, federal officers can be prosecuted if they go beyond the scope of their job. Excessive force, unjustified killing. Absolute immunity, all you have to do is say, well, I was doing this for my job, so you have absolute immunity, so you can kill people. What would stop them from saying, hey, we robbed the bank. We have absolute immunity. I was robbing the bank so I can have more money for ICE activities. Well, then absolute immunity. No, of course not. They do, now to be clear, and Keith Ellison in the interview that I talked to him about on Thursday about the shooting and went through in detail that federal officers, including ICE, do have certain immunity. It is not absolute. It is presumptive, but it can be overcome. and they're not free from being charged. In fact, states have charged federal officers for many, many years. There's no doubt about it. I've written about it. They can do it. But if, if Keith Ellison determines that Jonathan Ross has committed murder or manslaughter, and it might be lesser, it might be manslaughter, and charges him, then Jonathan Ross or any ICE agent is going to assert certain privileges. It's going to be litigated. I believe Jonathan Ross will lose, but it could go either way. But it's not absolute, just so you know, but they do have some immunity. Let's continue on here. I will always vote blue. Just joined. I like that. See, Change Champion said Adam Kinzinger pissed me off saying we need to stop using the F word. I saw that. Adam Kinzinger was upset with Mayor Fry using the F word. And I love that the mayor said in response to a reporter, he's like, I'm saying the F word. I think killing a woman is far worse. And the idea of getting advice from these former Republicans, like they're going to tell us decorum and how to act, is bullshit. Okay. I like some of their fighting spirit. I think some of them are much more effective at fighting and messaging, but don't give it. We are Democrats. We know our values. Don't give us your GOP values on bullshit. Fight, be an ally, love it. We're going to lead. That should be a whole topic another day. Marianne Katusha says he drew his gun before she even moved her vehicle. He did. If you see it in slow motion, and there's Washington Post had 3 freeze frames, which is really good. But if you slow it down, you see it. The officer, he's on his cell phone. In what world is it appropriate police to walk around with a cell phone? And we know there was not a life-threatening situation because no officer in their life would take a cell phone out and begin videotaping with one arm if they thought it was a life and death situation, right? Common sense says you don't do that. But he did that because he was trolling. And he's trolling her, and I love how the right released the video. I think it was going to help them. When she said to the officer that ultimately killed her, heartbreakingly enough, she said to him, I'm not mad at you. And on some level, and this might sound odd, but it reminded me of Jesus and saying to God, forgive them, God, they know not what they do. And on some level, that's what it reminded me of. Like, I'm not mad. Like she had a premonition that something horrible was going to happen. Maybe not, but that's what it felt like. So them releasing it, she's calm, she's civil. It undermined the whole terrorism claim and all that bullshit. So, all right, let's continue on, move here. Some more comments. Again, welcome. You are my guest. This is the segment. I talk for like 10 minutes. Then I read your comments for 10 or 15 minutes so people can hear from each other. Jules says Ross is very popular on white supremacist platforms. Wow. I'm not surprised. I mean, that's part of this. Professor Anthea Butler joined. Hello, Professor. I'm a big fan of yours. So Edward said, Frank just wrapped on his analysis of why ICE are being assholes. Not a coincidence or accident. And Frank Figluzzi, my buddy, was just doing his own chat. And I didn't watch it, but I think a lot of people who are officers, federal officers like Frank, are upset with the way ICE is doing this, calling her an effing B, the one ICE agent kicking the candles away from a memorial. He knew exactly what it was. The demonization of us as a people by ICE, by the supporters. Again, that goes to another conversation I'm going to have about the dehumanization of us lays the groundwork for really horrific things. The idea of the banality of evil. Hannah Arendt's famous line, the banality of evil, is 2 things. Banality is just the idea it's unoriginal. It's cliche. Evil is unoriginal. But second, it's the idea, really, what she wrote about. Ordinary people are capable of evil. And that's what we learn from Nazi Germany and other atrocities. And that's why I'm so concerned where we are as a nation right now after the killing. The dehumanization of Renee Good is another step in that path to something really dark. All right, so let's see what else. We got a few more things. Rachel says qualified immunity. He does have some qualified immunity. He can assert it in court. It's not absolute. It's qualified. The word qualified means qualified. Doesn't mean unconditional. Does Margaret ask, does ICE have authority to do traffic stops? They are not police officers. They are federal officers. So their job, they're not supposed to go out there and do traffic stops. What they'll argue is they were trying to effectuate an arrest of her. You heard the one officers yelling, get out of the car, get out of the effing car. And they're going to say it wasn't a traffic stop. If they're just doing traffic work, no. Federal officers should not be doing traffic work. Their job is to deal with ICE immigration enforcement. But that reminds me of something else. If you watch the video, and then maybe Frank talked about this, those ICE agents got out of their car. And think about this weird thing. Jonathan Ross, the person who ultimately kills Renee, he is filming Renee, talks to her, walks around, is interacting with her spouse, filming the license plate. We don't hear anything he's saying at that point. We don't hear him yelling. We don't hear him screaming. He is, from what we can see, rather calm. What changes it is those other officers come, stop, and then run up to the car and begin yelling, "Get the F out of the car. Get the F out of the car." Within, and I timed it, within 12 seconds of them getting out of the car, Renee Good is dead. It's that fast. They come out yelling, "Get out of the car, get out of the car." And Jonathan Ross happens to already be in front of the car, more to the driver's side. He's there. If they had come out at a different time, he's behind the car. It's not like he went around the car to stop her doing some great police work. He went around the car. That was his normal motive. He was just going around the car. These guys come out of nowhere. They escalate the situation to a deadly situation. That's why I don't think it's just Jonathan Ross who should potentially be indicted here. Those other ICE agents might be culpable from a legal point of view. And we'll leave that to, Keith Ellison. All right. So see if we'll do a few more. Marianne says the GoFundMe pages are outrageous. It must be blocked. There's the GoFundMe page that I'm not sure if people saw this. They smeared Jacob Fry and they put in the writing on the thing that he's a Jew. Like, they're openly trafficking anti-Jewish hate. Like, on the big GoFundMe page to raise money for the ICE officer who killed Renee, that an anti-American Jacob Fry, that's what they wrote, and put parentheses, he's Jewish, or he's a Jew. And it's being called out because that's what anti-Semitism looks like, folks. That's inciting hate against Jews. And it plays for the MAGA base. I mean, let's be blunt. All right, so let's do a few more. A lot of comments. Welcome, whoever's joining. It's great to have him. We're going to steal him. I should talk to Frank Figluzzi and ask him if he'll go first, and I'll pick up and go right afterwards and do my thing. That was a righteous use of the F word, says Susan, very much. Tracy, I would rather hear an F-bomb drop than Quiet Piggy. Remember Quiet Piggy by Trump? That seems like a year ago. Seems like 2 years ago. It was like a month ago. A few more here. Let's see. Susie C says that Renee wasn't afraid. That's why Jonathan Ross killed her. It may have been, they seem to be really worked up. They seem to be, officers who are well-trained know to de-escalate. That's what it's about. The officers at ICE escalated. And that's by design. And there's images today in Minneapolis. I'm not sure if you saw it, because Trump wants to escalate. What did he do? He didn't pull out the ICE agents. He didn't say, let's calm down. They sent even more ICE agents. I saw a video a short time ago, and I cannot verify that it's 100% happening right now. I can verify someone who has a good following on Blue Sky, but there's no blue checks, said this was happening in Minneapolis now. And you see a bunch of 3 ICE agent cars, 3 in a row, and someone on the ground, and they're at a major traffic stop. And it looks like a militia just driving around, picking fingers at whoever they say, that person, that go get them. It doesn't look like America. Where we are is unlike anything we could imagine. And add that today, Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, being investigated by Donald Trump, and Republicans just yawn. A few are upset about it. How is this with the nation that we saw? So, okay, a few other people say, Jojo from Jersey, my buddy. Joanne wrote a moving piece on the abuse. I should check it out. Carrie, my good friend, said here, studies show people who swear are more intelligent. Fine, I'll buy that. I don't curse that much, but if it makes me seem smarter, I will start cursing a lot more. All right, so I'm going to just read a few more, because I got to go back to work for my day job, which is my radio show. Renee said, I think they ID'd her as LGBT, and that's why they escalated it. I wonder if they did it right there or not. Obviously, after the fact, it's been used to dehumanize her, because that's what these movements do. Frey's making a live appearance right now. How dare he make a live appearance right now? He's been doing a great job. I really liked it. Laura Not Loomer says the GoFundMe page reported that it violates their policy on fundraising for legal fees for murder and other violations. Although I will say, just technically, that he's not been charged yet. And I wonder if the GoFundMe policy kicks in on not being able to raise money for someone charged with murder or violent crime when they're actually charged, not in advance. I don't know, not defending it. Just saying that might be the only reason GoFundMe says we're leaving it up right now. And think about it. Take a step back. The people on the right saw the same video we did. We saw Jonathan Ross shoot a mother of three and kill her. And on the right, they go, I want to give that guy money. I want to give that guy who just murdered that woman in her car money. And even if they can debate if is it murder or not, they saw a man kill a mother of three and say, I want to raise money for that person. That's the people we are coexisting with on this planet and in this country. That's the people, some who we work with, some who are our neighbors, some might even be in our family. That's what we're dealing with. And what is the most striking part of all this to me is the lack of human concern for the killing of a woman, even if they want to defend it legally. They want to debate that. That's a different thing. There's the legal bucket and there's the moral bucket or the humanity bucket. Legal bucket, you want to argue in good faith, fine. But it should have begun with them saying, this is heartbreaking. This woman did not deserve to die. This is a tragedy. Our heart goes out. Nope. Kristi Noem, she's a domestic terrorist. J.D. Vance, she's a radical leftist. And then the next day saying she's attacked America. On the right, people like Megyn Kelly, she deserved to be shot in the face. Just vile, vile attacks over and over. The lack of humanity should be as concerning as anything we've seen. All right, just one more. We'll take one more comment, then we're going to wrap it up. Even though I enjoy doing this, I do have to prepare for my show. Maureen Greenberg says he killed a soccer mom. He did. The Bear says more billionaires are trying to control us. There are billionaires trying to control us. If you mean me, I'm not a billionaire, but I know what you mean. I'm not kidding. Oh wow, Jennifer says Noam is the bitch of Buchenwald. I haven't heard that, but I've got to be honest with you. There are people in this administration, Carolyn Levitt, today the White House press secretary, Kristi Noem, Stephen Miller. I do believe J.D. Vance is an exceptionally evil person that people don't fully grasp yet. These people could have excelled in the Nazi regime. I have to be honest with you. I think they are capable of the darkest horrors, capable, and they will defend it. There's all different reasons why. Some are believers, some just want power. But I agree that there are some really, really dangerous people. General Strike, okay. So look, Tara says they are all evil. They are, Avila says they are all evil and heartless. Wow, some really good comments. I really enjoy this. I got to keep it to 30 minutes. That's just to grab people for 30 minutes and let them go. There's so many great Substack Lives out there. Thank you all for joining. If you enjoyed it, I hope you'll like it. I may or may not send these out daily. I try to send out more of my articles than me just talking to the camera. And if you haven't subscribed to my Substack, I hope you will, because I'm very needy. So the more Substack followers I have, the better I feel about myself. Because yes, I have issues and I should go to therapy. And so I want to thank everyone. And if you don't know me on my radio show, I always say I'm here to be your MBFF, your Muslim best friend forever. So if you don't have a Muslim friend, I'm there for you. And if you have one other, you should have more than one, because it sounds really horrible when you go, I have one Muslim friend. So thank you all. Thanks very much for joining. Love you all sincerely. We're going to do this again tomorrow at 4 or 4:30, depending on schedule. And we'll have another topic and I'll read your comments. Thank you all. God bless you. Have a great day.